Well, how long have you been involved in it?
What?
The podcast.
Since it started.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
like
So
through
2009,
yeah. So do you have a
Or
lot of
8.
like sound experience then?
just from the podcast.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I mean, it's been so cool to see how that's grown, how that's
Yeah.
it's just kind of taken a life of its own.
Yeah,
So,
the evolution of the podcast is very similar to this.
yeah.
Literally, much smaller room, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So who do you think? Who's your Twain favorite this year?
Ooh. Twain favorite this year. I want to give it to Badgers again, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, I think Kenny's got the want and the drive for real,
Yeah.
and he focuses when he wants something for
Yeah.
real, and getting his team on board is really all he has to do. He's got a solid crew,
Yeah.
and I think they can pull it together.
Awesome. Oh, hey.
Oh.
How are you? No, don't leave. Yeah, you can stay. Come on in. I just wanted to welcome you to our program. So this is a kick down memory lane. This is a space where we talk with legends of our game about their experiences, their trials, their triumph, their tears on the kickball field, and all of the things that have gone into making this league great. So I really believe that our league, KVKL, is really the premier kickball league in this country. And it's really important to me, and I think a lot of people in this league, to really highlight the stories that are part of that. So I am your guest, or I'm sorry, I'm actually your host. Erin is my guest. My name's Brooks Robertson. And I'm your guide on this journey through KVKL's history. So I'm hoping we have a great time together. I'm joined today, like I already mentioned, by Erin Adams. Erin, I thought you were an exceptional first guest
Oh, thank you.
for this podcast for a lot of different reasons. But one of the things that I really had in mind when I was thinking of you is the work that you've done as really a league historian, and how much help you would be able to give all of us in sort of orienting all of us to this league.
Okay.
So I just wanted to take a little bit of time before we really dive into the material to talk a little bit about the history of this league, get a little more into like when it started, 2002.
2002.
So
Nailed
going
it.
on strong now. This is 2025. So the league isn't technically its 22nd.
Yeah,
Season.
COVID years don't count, but 23 years, because we did do some charity work in 2020, so it's kind of one of those borderline years where
Yeah.
I'm going to count it because we still did the charity work, but we didn't get to play.
Right. So the league has done incredible work over the years, not only bringing in community members in the Lawrence area, the Northeast Kansas area, into this amazing game that we play, but also in giving back to this community as well through donations to a wide array of causes.
Yes.
Now, just recently, the league has officially achieved 501c3 status.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, which is something that we started work on when I was on first-time board member in 2009, I believe. We started work on it. We already had the trademark for the logo. We had the website. We've had a whole bunch of things that we could put our name on to make the 501(c3) status go through. But what we didn't have at the time, I think it took a couple more years to get the bank account. And then you have to have bylaws, and you have to have a lot of other things that just took a couple more years to like crawl through,
Right.
paying for a lawyer to sign up, all that stuff. And I left the board hoping that it would finally be done in a year, and it took another 4 or 5, but it's done. So now that it's done, I'm not going to harp on anything. Thank you guys for getting it done. But
Yes. Thank you
it
so
was
much.
a long journey.
Yeah. And I think that, you look back on that long journey, and nothing sort of springs up, arises from nothing. You have to build it.
Oh, yeah.
The people have to come. And that's something that I think is remarkable in this league. The people who have built it on top of the contributions of others even too, to really show that this league is something that people care about. Thousands of people have played in Kaw Valley Kickball League.
Probably close to 2,000 individuals separately. Yeah.
Yeah, I ran the numbers last year. Last year we had 800 or just under 800 unique individuals play in the league.
Yeah, that sounds about right because some people can only make a couple games.
Right.
I think 700 to 800 is the average when I was doing registration and tracking eligibility for tournaments. It's a lot of people to track, and it was up until this year one person doing all that work every year. So made it real easy for me to get to know everybody's names. So I think that's why a lot of people know me through kickballs, just because I was always tracking them down.
Yeah. The league began with 8 teams.
Correct.
We are up to 36 teams now.
Yes.
Now, I'd say on average, a team rosters somewhere between maybe 16 to 18 players.
Honestly, I think the average is probably like 14 to 16.
Okay.
There's a couple the teams that have 28. I think there's 3 or 4 of them every year.
Yeah.
But then there's some teams that run real raw with just
like
12
11.
or 13.
Yeah.
Yep. I think from a captain's perspective, if you could have just the same 10 people every week, I know my husband feels that way. And there's a couple other captains who are like, I only want these people to play. And it's not because they don't have faith in their other teammates. It's just easier to control how your team's going to get better if you're only focusing on 10 people instead of 20.
Right. That makes sense.
Splitting them. And
that makes sense. Well, so I want us to really dive in now.
Okay.
So, Erin.
Yes.
You are a kickball historian.
Me and a couple other people. I'm not the only one.
No, I am well aware.
Okay.
I'm well aware. You are a kickball historian.
Yes.
You are a former commissioner.
Yes.
You are also a kickball mom. The kickball mom, I would even say.
One of them, yeah. Yeah. Me and Stacy, I think.
Yeah. I've been lucky enough to, I'd say, adopt some of your kickball children over the years. And they always have the highest of praise for you. So I want to really take us all the way back to the beginning. My question for you, my first question is, who brought you into the league?
That would be Brett Allen.
Brett Allen.
Tell
me more about Brett Allen.
He is a local artist.
Okay.
You can find his artwork sometimes at the Roost. He does little wooden art and acrylic paints, really beautiful stuff, animals mostly. He used to have a shirt that said Brett effing Allen, and it was a picture of his cat.
Yeah.
It was amazing. But that was a team called Seventh Heaven, and he worked there. Seventh Heaven was kind of a head shop, music shop, poster shop.
Yeah.
Kind of hard to mix it all into one.
So you played your first season with Seventh Heaven.
Yeah, in 2003.
Okay. Tell me about that team's history. Like, are they still in the league?
No, not even close.
Yeah. So how long did they last?
2002, 2003.
Yeah.
That was it.
So did you get in 2002 or
2003?
Okay.
Yeah.
So just missed.
Yeah,
inaugural
I didn't play the
season.
first year. No, very few people knew about it the first year.
Yeah.
It was literally just bars and restaurants. And if you didn't work at one of the bars or restaurants that got invited, I think a lot of places did, but not a lot of places were able to do it the first year. And the few teams that did play the first year had so much fun that it was really easy for the next year for them to expand to 20.
Yeah.
From 8 to 20.
Yeah. So who put out that first call to those bars, restaurants around Lawrence about playing kickball?
It was a woman named Natalie Wynn.
Okay.
She worked at one of the places that was involved and just was like, hey, you guys want to do this on Sunday for
Where
a
did
couple
this
weeks?
harebrained scheme of Natalie's come from?
I honestly don't know. I wish I knew. Some of the other historians might know her better. I didn't know her very well. I was much younger. And it happened, and it was great. And we all thank her for that. And that's what the trophy's named after.
The Natalie?
The Wynn Cup.
The Wynn Cup.
WINN.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that.
It's on the front. It should be on a little plaque.
Now, so Erin, you have over the years curated a bit of a spreadsheet.
Yes.
A league history spreadsheet.
Yes.
That goes over not only all of the teams that were in the league,
Correct.
but also our board over the years and our commissioners. In that spreadsheet, you mentioned Natalie as the first technical commissioner.
Yeah.
Correct?
Just because it was her idea, it's her
Yeah,
brainchild.
and
So the creator, the originator,
Right,
she
exactly.
organized and made the schedule. It was just like, meet us here. But there's
Yeah.
only one place to play, so
Where was that place?
South Park.
You played at South Park to
Yes.
start. On the
So,
grass.
On the grass. Everything was grass for
So which side? The east side of South Park or the west side?
the northwest side where the big open grass field still is.
I see, yeah.
There's a sidewalk that kind of cuts off some of it now and a few more trees than there used to be. But we would play 2 games at the same time on that field. And
No markings.
No, and like a piece of paper for a base.
Really?
And the outfields would collide sometimes, and there was no
Wow, yeah, you kick a ball and it ends up on the other field.
literally in the middle of the other field. And
Wow.
the balls we used were the ones you could get at like Walmart in that big bin that are just like kind of rubbery plastic.
Yeah.
So the rubber we use today, even thinner.
Wow.
Like so thin.
So was there standardization when it came to balls or rules? How did all of that initial rule set kind of come out?
So that started happening a couple years later. There were a handful of people who have a lot to do with that. And this history spreadsheet isn't just curated by me. There's a handful of people who got involved with this.
Yeah.
But Scott Edwards was the second person who was like, I want to keep this league going. And so he did it the second year. And then Kelly Corcoran, who's the owner of Love Garden, he ran it for a few years. And I think Kelly was probably the one who was like, we should probably write some stuff down and not just do this by telephone.
Yeah.
And then a couple years after that, we had an official board of people, and Josh Hunt is one of the originators of that, and Darren Belt. Josh Hunt is probably the longest running captain in the league.
He was with Sacred Sword.
He is with Sacred Sword. His original team was Bottleneck.
So they're the Tellers is our first champion.
Tellers
correct?
is the first champion, which is Merchants now.
Yeah. So tell
Which
me
is
about
now my
what
husband's team, Soda
Yeah.
Jerks.
So technically, Soda Jerks has the
original title.
original title.
Correct.
How about
by
that?
lineage, yes.
Yeah, by lineage. So tell me about those first 8 or 20 teams. What did the kickball that they were playing look like back then?
It was a mess. It was a hot mess.
Oh, really? Just baseball rules?
General baseball rules in general, like
Leadoffs?
leadoffs. Nobody thought about anything. Do you know when you play on Wednesday nights?
Yeah.
And no, that's a re-kick. That's a redo. No, they didn't mean to do that.
Really?
Oh, we'll just redo that.
Pretty
for
informal?
a couple of years. Very informal. Again, whatever you could find to represent a base, a beer flat, a piece of paper.
Sure.
Some people would go buy the cheap plastic, really thin bases that you can find everywhere now, but back then they were a little harder to get a hold of. So yeah.
Wow.
Kind of sloppy, but it was fun.
Yeah, it sounds like. I mean, it sounds like it inspired a whole lot more, right?
100%.
So tell me, kind of take me through that first season then.
I wasn't there the first season.
Or your first season.
My first season.
So 2003.
I only played 2 or 3 games.
Yeah.
I have very little memory of the first. It was just somebody calling and being like, hey, we need another body.
Yeah.
I don't remember there being like, we need this many girls or this many boys. We just needed bodies. Like, hey, come out here and play. And I was like, okay. And one of my friends was like, come on out. And I was like, okay. And then they were like, can you come back next week? Because we need more bodies.
Yeah.
And I only just played 2 or 3, like I said. And it was all at South Park. The championship was at South Park.
Yeah.
So.
Do you remember what position you played that first year?
The first year I played outfield and catcher.
Okay. Outfield and catcher.
One or the other, depending on what the other people wanted to do. In the early years, people playing catcher just had to be brave enough to not be afraid of getting kicked. By
Did they
wild
stand
swings.
in the? Yeah.
There was no,
There was no box, I would imagine.
no box, yeah.
So like on Fridays, they typically stand back a little bit. Was it kind of like that?
Yeah,
or?
you just be kind of wherever.
Yeah.
Kind of because there's no lines.
Yeah.
The first couple years.
Did you
was
play
just
with 10 players?
played with as many people as you wanted. I don't remember anyone writing anything down
Really?
other than the score.
See,
sending
I
a
just
text.
find these first handful of games, these first handful of seasons to be just so fascinating.
Yeah.
Just because of what it really inspired and what
Very
it
grade
spawned.
school, very, very, blacktop style kickball, but on grass because, safety.
Yeah.
That was the one thing of safety we did do probably.
Yeah.
back then.
Hey,
Does not play on
we're pretty
blacktops.
concerned about safety nowadays.
Yeah,
but
absolutely
that's
should be.
through a lot of lessons learned over the years.
A lot of us are getting old.
Yeah, definitely.
And a lot of people don't have insurance. So, got to make sure everyone stays safe.
Were there any traditions or anything, any sort of shared team identity that maybe you guys, even in those early days, was there? So like, you'll see teams nowadays before their game starts or at the end, they'll all shotgun a beer together.
There were definitely some early team rivalries.
I see.
Just based on people knowing each other at different restaurants. You're like, oh, that restaurant, or oh, that person is barred from my place, or whatever, things like that. But early traditions, basically, drinking before and after the games never stopped when we drink on the fields, which is back then was frowned upon because some of the fields we played on were schools.
Yeah.
And it was the middle of summer, so there's no kids there. We didn't think anything of it. We're all in our 20s.
Did you ever receive a citation?
No, the police
anybody?
in Lawrence have always been so nice. They would drive by and go, put it away, pour it out. We'll drive around. We'll come back. So and we would clean up, But a lot of the games were on grass fields that weren't schools as well. So we had a good hodgepodge of where we could and couldn't drink without being, And I think that's where koozies came from, with being a really popular item.
Right. Hide it a little bit.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah, I love it. So when was the first time you maybe started to recognize, it may not have been early on, but when was the first time you really started to recognize that this league was something special?
Probably my second or third year, which was my second year, and the third, fourth, fifth, I think. I played with the Red Lion, and we were the King Cobras.
Yeah.
We weren't the Red Lion Tavern Lions. We were the Red Lion King Cobras.
Interesting.
And we brought 40s King Cobra.
Yeah.
So, that was our theme.
Yeah, that's your whole thing.
Chris Nevervee was still in school at the time, so he hadn't come back yet. And so the team was run by the bartenders there, everybody who worked there, and a couple of the regulars.
Yeah.
And it was just crazy amount of fun because we were there with our friends. And I realized it was special because we would all go to wherever our field was, Edgewood or the Water Tower Park or Hilltop School, all those places, Woodlawn Elementary. We'd go to wherever our grass field was, meet up with the other people. It was a really good way for people to meet new people. You'd see people pairing off. It was just really young romance all over every summer. But then we'd all go to South Park and watch whatever game was still happening at South Park, because there was always more games there. Yeah. Because they could fit them. Definitely can't fit them now. Yeah. You'd go wherever you'd hear that, oh, that game's still going on, let's go watch it. And it was just, you could see the people enjoying the spectation and the meeting new people, and oh, I met you a couple weeks ago. How are you? Good, nice to meet you again. And you could just see people building friendships. Yeah, you start to see that network, that web start to be created. 100%. It sounds like that was also sort of that initial, kind of that early version of the migration from YSC to Hobbs, too. We didn't play at YSC until significantly later. Yeah. We started at all grass. Yeah. Nothing. So when grass. Was the first time we started playing on dirt? Was that with YSC, or was that earlier? I want to say 07, 08. Okay. And it was the championship game only. Really? And it was because the year before, 06 or 07, the championship game at South Park was going into extra innings. It was going very long. I could probably give you the exact year if I look at my spreadsheet. I want to say it was 07 because I have a feeling it was Billy Construction or Jayhawk Guttering, which are similar teams, versus Murder Inc., which was 06. That was the old Milton's team, right? Yeah. Always had to do with... Yeah, Wu-Tang, something or other. So 06 to 08 is somewhere in there because the championship game against those two teams, it started getting dark. And they had to call the game on darkness, and the team that won... Really? Won because it got too dark to finish the game. And I don't remember if they continued it later. It was early enough on for me that if they did decide to rematch and finish a game later, I was not aware of it. I wasn't on the board yet. I was still kind of just a player hanging out. And the following year, the game was at Hobbs because it was just down the street from South Park, and it had lights. Yeah. So that's kind of where Hobbs kind of enters the picture. Literally, yeah. Wow. That's amazing. And we only played, never, a championship game called for darkness. Called for darkness. There's no lights at South Park. Yeah. That's, so that sounds like a pretty big
difference between the game that we're playing now
Huge.
and the way it all really began.
Yeah.
So it's really cool to see, kind of get these layers pulled back
Yeah.
and see how each piece of the puzzle started kind of coming together.
And that's why people like me and a bunch of other, not everybody, but a lot of people who've been playing as long as I have, or within, a 5-10 year radius of me, love the grass game. It's a throwback week. And yes, you're going to twist an ankle. Someone on your team is going to trip in a hole.
Yeah.
It is not safe, but we did that for the first 6 or 7 years exclusively on grass and then moved to dirt.
And maybe dirt felt
sporadically.
like, it was like, ooh, a big fancy upgrade. But now you still have that nostalgia for those early days.
I
on the
still have the
grass.
nostalgia. But for the first couple years that we went from grass to dirt, we did grass and dirt.
Yeah.
So you would get your schedule and go, oh, this week I'm at the fairgrounds and next week I'm at Edgewood, so dirt grass. And then the next week, South Park. And then the next week, Lions. So
how does dirt v grass affect how you play? Like, are there different,
significantly
fielding
for some people,
considerations, kicking?
Yes, kicking for sure is different. Kicking's the least a different thing, I think. I think pitching is the worst.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because you got to get it through, and you never know if the field's going to be mowed.
Yourself up all game when
You got to have
pitching
two
through
pitchers.
grass.
Yeah. I think that some people prefer grass for sliding. If you've got a person on your team who's in the dirt every game, they will slide even more on grass. They appreciate the softness. A grass burn's a little more forgiving than a dirt burn.
Definitely.
So yeah, I think it definitely affects the way I play. I bring bug spray.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a lot of differences, but I think the main one's probably pitching. The ball still kicks as far. There's more trees involved typically, which is where that tree rule comes from.
Yeah. So what were some of the early fields that the tree rule applied to?
Hobbs Park, obviously, the third baseline. Edgewood.
Mm-hmm.
Because there'd be 2 games played at Edgewood. South Park.
South Park, Water Tower?
Water Tower Park had a backstop was one of the few with a backstop that was on grass.
Did you guys play at Woody?
No, it was too short.
Yeah, okay.
The dirt is 50 feet to the edge of the dirt, and our bases are 60 feet in dirt.
Yeah.
So the transition from dirt to grass isn't really safe.
Yeah.
And I've never played there. I don't know that anybody ever did, except for practices.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Okay.
But no.
Okay. So are there any other so out of those fields, which one was your favorite? The early day fields.
South Park, 100%.
South Park,
Yeah,
100%.
hands
Just
down.
because of what it meant? Or?
Yeah, I like the location. Obviously, it's right there in the middle of everything,
Yeah.
and everyone would come back and gather there. And we did picnics there. There's a bathroom on site, which was a big plus in the beginning because most of the other fields, none of the other grass fields have bathrooms.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
Which made a big difference
really
for some
big
of our
point.
games.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just the nostalgia there. It's where it started. It's my first game. It was my first whole season. I think I played almost every game there, but I only 3 games. I played them all there. The next year I played a handful of games there. And then there's a park, a children's school at the top of Hilltop with a big grassy area and kind of a water feature in center field.
Yeah.
And every now and
a
then.
water feature in center field.
So the children's playground, and then there's a little bit of a water feature, and then a huge grassy area with a backstop.
Yeah.
And some people could kick it to the water, like Water Tower. People would kick it to the playground.
I've heard
and
people kicking it into the playground.
into the swings, especially, is treacherous.
Oh man, I love this because as someone who's newer in the league. For instance, I had no idea about this almost sacred place that South Park has for a lot of people and how important it really has been to the development of this league.
Yeah.
And it's a space that I feel in some ways has been forgotten.
I don't think it's been forgotten. It's just that so many people are so anti-grass now. And this year we don't have a grass week. And it's the only reason we don't have a grass week is because the city of Lawrence isn't hosting a softball tournament because of some of the retrofitting they're doing for the softball fields. So if we had a week where the city was like, sorry, every field in town is booked, we would have to play on grass.
Right.
South Park, we always put a game there.
Yeah.
And the D-holes fight tooth and nail to get it.
To get it every time. Yeah. So I want to shift gears a little bit, start moving forward to the future.
Okay.
What do you think is the most competitive team that you've ever been on?
Like I said, I played for Red Lion for a few years, and we weren't super competitive when I was on that team, but everybody played for fun, and if
Yeah.
you won, it was great. And some people on individual
Were there
teams took
some
it too
teams
serious. Yeah.
that were taking it a little? Who were some of those teams early on that you feel were taking it a little too seriously?
For sure, Pita Pit, but
Okay.
they know that. They're the first ones to tell you when they were Jayhawk Guttering and they won their first title. I think they took it super serious, and that was
Yeah.
2008.
Yeah.
And the year before, Billy Construction, super serious. But I think '08 on was when it got super serious.
Yeah.
So I left the Red Lion team and joined a team called Slow Ride. And it was...
Slow Ride, that became Leeway Franks, right?
No,
No.
that was Balls Deep.
That's Balls Deep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Slow Ride became Basil Leaf,
Okay,
and then Basil
okay.
Ride.
Yes.
Basil Ride, Basil
Thunder
Leaf,
Kicks,
Thunder Kicks,
Posh Wash, Cyport Wog.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So I joined Slow Ride, and Cougar was actually on Slow Ride a couple years before me.
Okay.
And we transitioned a year or two apart, I think. But by that point, we had been doing the podcast together for a couple years.
Yeah.
So I joined Slow Ride because a handful of people on that team worked for me, and they were like, "Hey, we need another player," and I was like, "Yeah, I'll jump on."
Yeah.
And took a few people with me, and then we just transitioned, and that was probably the most competitive team. We were consistently, 15-10.
Yeah. Okay. What do you feel was sort of the engine for that? What made that team great? What made them good?
We were all just friends and coworkers, and we spent a lot of time together, and we just really all got along.
Yeah.
And being friends on top of being teammates made a big difference. There's
Yeah.
some teams that you can see just by looking at them and their interactions that they don't spend a lot of time together off the field, which is fine. You may have a great energy to when you are together.
Yeah.
But some of the better teams or more fun teams to be around are teams that have been friends forever, get to know each other quickly, have team outings, things like that. The teams that consider themselves family,
Yeah.
way more fun most of the time.
Yeah. I'd agree. And I think that really helps everyone on the team improve together as well.
And it's hard to build a team if you don't have at least a couple people on the foundation of being close friends.
Yeah.
But it can happen. It just takes time.
Yeah. I can say for our team, one thing that I was mindful of as we were starting to kind of put everything together is I remember there was this couple on the free agents list. And I remember reaching out to them because I read their things and they said, wants to play with this person. And the other person's said, wants to play with this person. I was like, oh, these guys are perfect.
Yeah.
They're going to come in. They already have that person that they can lean on, but
Yes.
hopefully they get folded in.
Learn to...
Right, exactly. Start learning to lean on us too.
You've got a handful of married couples on your team, don't
I do,
you?
yeah.
Me too.
It helps a lot with sort of a shared mentality, sort of, like I said, wanting to sacrifice for each other, wanting to give more, wanting to hold yourself accountable for others. And I think that that's one thing that, those family teams that we're talking about really excel at and show what really is possible in this league and on a kickball team.
Oh, for sure.
So,
Yeah.
Moving forward from competitive, do you think that was also the most fun you've ever had in a season?
So my most fun season and my most competitive season are probably not the same.
Okay.
My most fun season is probably like somewhere 2012, 2013, somewhere in there. It was back when I had a lot of free time. I had Mondays off work.
Oh, that's... Have we always played on Sundays?
Yes.
Okay.
There's a stray game here and there for rain out reasons or replays or whatever, but Sunday night, because it's a bar and restaurant originated league, and
hey, you get off
Friday night
on
and Saturday.
Sundays?
Sundays.
Exactly.
Sunday night is either you're off or you don't work at all, because Friday, Saturday is where you're busting ass. And
right.
then
No, I never
Sunday
thought
off.
of that.
Yeah,
that's specifically why we play on Sundays.
It's another reason why we don't play earlier on Sundays. People have asked, why don't we start at noon? Why don't we start at 2? Well, it's a bar and restaurant league, and there's a handful of people in this league that work the morning brunch lunch shift.
Yeah.
That's I would say a third of the team, a third of the league at any given time.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, my most fun season, probably 2012, 2013, somewhere in there. We were just really close friends. Again, half the team were people that I've been friends with forever, or I'd worked with for a handful of years. So we all just really got along.
This is still Slow Ride?
At the time, it was Slow Ride. Yeah, we had probably our green jersey here
Yeah.
with the little turtle with the snail writing on it.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was probably my most fun year. That was the year I tried to set the Jello shot record. I think there's a video somewhere on YouTube of me throwing Jello, raining Jello for a good 2 or 3 minutes, just over when we could still throw Jello.
Yeah. When we could.
And when we could, it was 6 coolers of Jello on the field, everybody throwing.
Jesus.
Yeah, it was a lot.
So when did Jello shots start making their way in? Do you remember?
I've always made Jello shots myself.
Yeah.
So I don't know when they became a thing that
Just like
everybody did.
ubiquitous.
Yeah. But I've always had them. I've made them from the beginning.
Really?
I have.
Yeah.
I didn't always make enough to share with everybody. But it's always been a thing that I did. But it's because I did it before I even played kickball. It's a thing that I just did.
Yeah. So you've always been bringing Jello shots.
Yeah, I've always been the Jello girl.
Wow. Okay.
I have
Jello
a
gal.
200 recipes of different types of Jello flavors I've made. And
Really?
things. Yeah.
You have a whole Jello recipe.
I'll send you the spreadsheet.
I guess I'm gonna. I'd love it. I'd love that spreadsheet too.
Yeah.
Oh man. So take me through your career then. You started on Red Lion?
I started on Seventh Heaven.
Seventh Heaven.
Yep.
Moved to Red Lion.
Yes.
Then on to Slow Ride.
Correct.
Okay. Where you go from there?
I joined Mass Street Soda Jerks last season.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you stayed through all of the Basil Leaf, Thunder Kicks,
Yep.
Posh Wash.
Yeah, I was the captain of Posh Wash for a handful of years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. What?
That's a lot.
Yes. Are there any games that really stand out to you over your career?
Yeah.
That really, either it was an exceptionally good game, maybe you had an incredible time, maybe something special happened. Are there any greatest games?
Yeah. There was one season. So Slow Ride and Chalmers's used to have a imaginary rivalry.
Okay. Help me.
Okay.
Who are some people on Chalmers's?
A handful of them play for late fees now.
Okay.
So Bronco, and they all have nicknames.
Yeah.
I can tell you their real names, but it's easier to give you their nicknames.
Yeah, I like nicknames.
So Bronco and Styles and A Train and Candy Pants. And
Okay, yeah.
So Rashna, I think she fills in for the Red Line sometimes now. She was on the team. Betsy Hot Pants Hatch.
Yeah.
So many people. Their nicknames were amazing. They had the best nicknames in the league. They were all on that team, and we would play them. It felt like every year. And when the league was playing 7-3. So right now we're playing basically relegation. You play your 10 games out. We used to be split into a pool play, and then rank play.
Yeah.
When we were 30 teams, we did 7 games of rank play, and then 3 games of pool play. Maybe switch that. Anyways, you played 7 games against whoever, and then 3 games against the people with similar records to you, right? So we always ended up playing Chalmers's, and if they beat us, they'd be the 1 seed, and if we beat them, they'd be the 2 seed, whatever.
Yeah.
So it was always right there. And then you go on to play the other 1 seeds. And no matter what, if it was us or Chalmers, we'd always get our butts kicked by the other 3 1 seeds. It's very much like now. The highs and lows, there's definitely a bell curve. And one year we beat Chalmers's in extra innings at Water Tower Park. And we were so stoked because it gave us a 1 seed.
Yeah.
It was one of our best seasons. And then we lost the next 3 games.
Yeah.
Because we were playing the other 1, 2, 3 seeds. Right. We're in the ones, and we lost all 3. Well, we only lost by 1 or 2 runs, and we lost one of the games significantly. And the board at the time dropped us like 6 or 7 seeds for the tournament.
Yeah.
So instead of being a 4 or a 5, maybe a 6 seed, we got dropped to like the 7 or 8 or 9.
Yeah.
And we were just livid. And we were like, what is going on? And we played Chalmers in the tournament, and I got wrecked. I was playing catcher. And A Train, very well named, he and I collided at home plate. Ooh. He wrecked me, and we both had to see the chiropractor multiple times after that.
Yeah.
I got kicked in the sternum that season as well.
Wow.
Yeah. And
a little WWE going on.
Not on purpose. It was just a really, really wide kick.
I guess so. Hey,
I was standing too close.
You got to be careful as catcher.
And then most competitive season was probably 2017 when we played for the Twain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, 2017.
I think it was 2016 or 17. I want to say 17.
So tell me about some of those players on that team. Sean Meredith was on that team.
He was on that
right?
team. I think he joined the team a season or two before that, either 15 or 16.
Yeah.
I can probably go back and check my notes. We had Frank and Ian, who were best friends since high school, and James Wiggins, and Alexis was the captain that year. God, we had so many amazing, fun people on that team. We had Allison. I literally would have to pull up a picture to remember every single person on that team right now. But everything about that year was a crazy amount of fun, mostly because of Frank and Ian.
Yeah.
They had just silly cheers they would do for each other. They would do the Dirty Dancing lift if they did well.
Good energy.
Yes, and James Wiggins is a wild card. You couldn't tell him what to do or where to run or how to kick.
Oh
and
yeah, I've got players.
He got
like
one
that.
of those, but he could back it up most of the time.
Yeah.
So it was just a lot of fun, and it was our most competitive season because we got to go to the Twain, and Red Line got us on that one.
Yeah.
But kind of hurt my heart, but we had a blast.
So do you still hold any, it hurts to lose to Red Lion. I know you used to play with them too.
It doesn't hurt to lose to Red Lion. It hurt to lose with that team.
I see. Because you were family styling it that year.
We really thought we thought we had it. We were surprised we got to the Twain that year, I think.
But then when you're there, it's like, all right.
Then we got there and we're like, let's go for it.
Let's bring this home.
Yeah, exactly. Because previous years we would do pretty well and then get knocked out by the 4 or 5 seed in the tournament, and there wasn't a Twain. So if you won your first game and then you lose your second game, you're just out of the tournament.
So take me through when the kind of championship divisions kind of began.
Ooh.
Cup was always there.
Cup's always there.
Then the plate. Win Cup.
And we added the plate after that.
The plate was added next.
The plate is the 50-50.
Yeah.
You're the halfway winner.
Right. So has it always been 17th? Or has it been at times 15th?
It was 15th and 16th because we had 30 and 32 teams.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't think we ever did it when we had 28 teams. I have no memory of that. I'd have to go back and check the books, but it's hard to remember that far back.
Who introduced this idea of a mid-tier sort of championship?
Oh gosh, I honestly don't know whose original idea that was.
Do you recall? Is it a conversation that sort of originated with the board, or was it external?
That's a great question.
Okay.
I don't have an answer for you, which is disappointing for me because I feel like I know so much about it. The Diana plate, I don't remember why we decided to do it. I think it was because, the tournament was, everybody's having so much fun and you played 12 weeks and you play one game and now you're done. Bye.
Yeah.
And so I know it got added by the board for, let's give people a little more time. We've got the space. Let's use it.
Let's keep playing kickball.
Right. And then I couldn't tell you whose idea it was, but I mean, we obviously all love it.
You're right. I love that every team in this league plays for something. It, I think, is one of the things that really makes this league special. How every team from 1 to 36 fully bought in.
Oh, yeah. 100%.
There's always something to play for.
Yeah.
So we got the cup, then the plate.
Yeah.
Then the Twain gets added.
Yeah.
Did the Twain and Boot get added at the same time?
No. The Twain came first, and the Twain was only a one-off one year.
Really?
The year before the Twain, there was a team that may or may not have thrown their first game so they could make it to the plate because they wanted to play more games.
Ah, I see.
And we were like...
kind of shades of our bar?
Shades of Free State. So... I love you guys, though.
Love you guys.
Yeah. Other teams have done similar things in the past to make sure they would get a seeding that they wanted. They're like, if we win or lose this game, we'll play this team or this team in the tournament because the way we ranked it, we were very transparent for a long time on this is what you're going to get. If you're a 7 seed, you're going to be in here. If you're a 1 seed or 2 seed, you're going to be up here.
So you saw teams start to kind of try to...
put
themselves in the most optimal position that they could
to win some hardware.
I got you.
Yeah,
I got you.
So the year we did the Twain,
it was sort of to de-incentivize that,
right?
Almost.
Yeah, the Red Lion won that year.
Yeah,
and we didn't have a Twain again for I want to say 2 years. I can't remember exactly. But in the meantime, the Twain was originally so Chelsea Scanlon and I made the trophies for all the spring tournaments and fall tournaments we used to have, because we didn't want to just buy trophies. We'd make them. We had the Creepy Corner Trophy House collections. And so we made the Twain. And then Chelsea and I made the box that the Diana plate sits in.
Yeah.
And then Kristen CS made the boot.
Yeah. It's one of her,
old
old
boots.
shoes, right?
I cannot believe the number of people who have actually drank out of it.
Not me. Sorry.
Super gross.
Sorry, guys.
It's a shoe. And it's spray painted and
It is.
chipping off. But the Twain used to just be a bust. And over the years, we had to add books to the bottom of it to stabilize it better, because it got broken one year. This head totally broke at the neck. We had to fix it the next year. When it came back, we fixed it. And, it's been stacking. Everybody seems to add to it every year.
Yeah.
So there's a donut. There's a little leg on it for the red legs.
I've seen the Cthulhu mustache.
The squids for when they want
yeah.
it. Yep. Red Lion added like a little blue bow tie with a little lion medallion.
Yeah.
But they've won it twice.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I think that's a really cute thing.
Yeah.
Cute.
Yeah.
That teams do for the Twain.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and the plate is in that shadow box now.
Mm-hmm.
And if you take it out of the shadow box, the padding that's back there is kickball material.
Really?
It's a mosaic of kickball for
Really?
padding. And if the back of the plate, everyone who won it for the first however many years has signed it in a circle. And I think if they ran out of room, they started signing it on the back of the actual frame.
Yeah.
Not 100% on that. But
Yeah. No, the boot, I can tell you.
they sign it.
Yeah, it's all signed on the back.
We're going to have to find a way to embellish that to make it bigger when we run out of room on that
Right,
wooden
exactly.
block.
Find some way to,
Yeah.
extend it or something. Just make it taller.
I think the only trophy that hasn't been broken is the plate.
Yeah. Knock on wood. Knock on wood.
Something.
Wow. Huh, man, I love trophy discussion.
And the Win Cup has secrets inside.
Really? See,
After it got broken and rebuilt, they made it like a time capsule.
really? Wow. I'm
Surprise.
Johnny's don't
I don't actually know what's in there.
future cup holders, yeah. I guess we will break in 2050 maybe.
I mean, maybe. Yeah, I don't know. I have an idea of what's in there.
Yeah.
Because I know who remade it, and but I don't know what's in there for sure.
Okay, what a mystery. What a mystery.
Yeah.
All right, little bit of a mystery box for you guys. So before I kind of want to take a sec to kind of move into your history with the board, sort of how all of that kind of got going, got started.
Okay.
You mentioned Kelly,
Kelly
someone
Cochran.
who very early on sort of recognized, hey, guys, we should probably be writing some of this stuff down.
Yeah.
So you mentioned he was commissioner. Solo commissioner, no additional board behind him.
Right.
Where did the decision to support the commissioner sort of begin?
Well, I'd have to pull up my chart, but I think it was the 6th year of the league when Kelly passed it off to Josh Hunt, Darren Belt, Phil Mitchell, and a handful of other people. And they were like, this is a lot of work for one person.
Yeah.
It needs a group effort. And I believe in the early days, other people may have been helping Kelly, but not in like an official scale.
An official kind of capacity, sure.
Josh Hunt is for sure one of the driving forces of getting everything on paper, getting the copyright for our logo. He's definitely one of the driving forces. You should definitely talk to him, get him in here.
I'm planning to.
Please do. He's amazing. He's the owner of Mammoth, so he knows how to run an event. And I think that when Kelly was like, let's get more people involved, it was mostly because we were playing on a lot of grass. I think Phil Mitchell went out and mowed half of the fields solo every week.
Wow.
And when we started lining fields, that was Phil Mitchell. He would just go out and doing it by himself.
Wow.
And as a person who's lined a lot of fields, doing it solo for the entire day by yourself in the summer,
That's exhausting.
every Sunday, doing it one time a season is a lot for me.
No, Phil, I never knew. I never knew your game.
If you meet Phil Mitchell, give him a high five, a pat on the back for that, because without him, we wouldn't have been able to play some of those early games when we started lining fields.
Wow.
On grass.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So with this expansion that the league has sort of constantly almost been going through over this period, you mentioned year 1 we had 8.
Yes.
Year 2 we had 20.
Correct.
When did the sort of calls to expand again sort of began?
Oh gosh, I need my spreadsheet for this. I have it in front of me.
Yeah.
Luckily. So year 1 was 8, year 2 was 20, year 4, 2005, we had 23 teams. 2006, we had 24, then 23, then 28 teams in 2008, and then 30 teams from 09. 2011, we had 32 teams, and we stuck with 32 teams for a handful of years. We expanded to 36 in 2016.
Okay.
And we're kind of stuck here.
Yeah, kind of tell me about that expansion from 32 to 36.
That was because we had the number of requests for new teams wanting to join was becoming like, we have to expand the league to keep the league alive for new people coming in, because the teams that were staying, not that they were getting stagnant, but don't bring in more people that way.
You're getting older. And like you said, captains get to a point where they're like, okay, I've got these 10 people, or I've got these 12 people who I'm going to run and let them get to work and let them develop and get experience with each other, which does kind of close the door just a little bit on people coming in.
This is a very cliquey league in so many ways and very open arms in so many others.
Yeah.
And cliquey mostly just because of the, and some of the current and past board members don't like the term, but ownership of the league. The board is a dictatorship. We don't collect votes from captains most of the time. It's getting a little more lenient on that. There's more votes happening in general. But at the same time, if too many cooks in the kitchen kind of thing.
Yeah.
So you have to.
I appreciate they ask us to vote on some measures.
Yeah. You have to hold your ground.
Yeah.
But in the dictatorship way, when I was on the board, I was always very transparent. If someone tried to ask me a question, if it was something I could answer, I would. And I still feel that way. If I know, I'm happy to share the information, because I don't want to gatekeep information in the history or the way things are leaning.
Yeah.
Because if other people don't know, how do we learn?
Right.
So for me, transparency is key, and that's the way I ran it.
Yeah.
If somebody asked me, I wasn't just putting everything out there on the board. There's some things you have to hold close to your chest.
Of course.
But the teams are the same way.
Right. It is very similar to almost like running a team where you want to have some democratic elements.
Right.
Right? But at the end of the day,
it's a dictatorship.
It really is a benevolent dictatorship.
Yeah. And that's where the ownership phrase comes in again. And if you are a team captain, which you are, you fill out your registration, your paperwork is filled out right there at the top, team captain. Now, next year, if you choose to step away, you don't want to be captain anymore, it's too much work, you want to do something else, but you still want to play, you pick the person on your team to take over captainship. That has to be done in writing, submitted to the board, and then they are the captain. And the next day, they can kick you off the team if they want to.
Yeah.
And that is the ownership level that, again, a lot of people don't like it being called ownership, but it is. The captain of the team owns the franchise. They get to choose who plays and who doesn't. Co-captain is there to back you up and help you. But if one day you get a bug up your butt and go, I don't like this guy anymore, I want you off my team, your word is final.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
you get to pick your sponsor. You get to pick. So.
Yeah, and part of that is a balance as well.
Yes.
Right. Very rarely we find, instances where there are, personalities on teams that just do not mesh. Well, I say very rarely. It might happen more often than very rarely. But
there are times. Yeah,
there are certainly times where personalities come in and don't mesh. Right. I imagine that's a similar circumstance throughout the league's history. And you mentioned this aspect of clickiness. I think that part of that is an element of, people find their groups.
Yeah.
People find the people that they're really running with. And once the league gets big and bigger and bigger, eventually you start to notice that, there are lines. There are lines in the sand that I never noticed were there.
Yeah.
So I think that the league, honestly, in my experience with it, has done an amazing job welcoming new players, of bringing in folks of all different walks of life.
Absolutely.
I wanted to take just a brief sec to talk about the Kickball for All Clinic.
Okay.
Can you tell me about when that got started?
That started in 2012 for sure.
Yeah.
I think Ari Oxter and Jackie Becker and maybe a couple of other women were like, look, we need a way to encourage the women of the league to not just play these one or two positions and get rotated out. You didn't see women at outfield. You didn't see women at first base or any of the bases except for second, shortstop, pitcher. That was the most common. You'd see once in a blue moon, you'd see a lady in the outfield, or like I played catcher when I started.
Which is definitely something I think is becoming more common.
Yeah.
I think you're seeing a lot of teams
rotating
start
their people.
to experiment, especially with the outfield, especially with gals in the outfield.
For sure. But for a long time, there just weren't any. There were some here and there again. But the Girl on Girl Clinic started in 2012. We called it Girl on Girl because the idea was women empowering other women, teaching them the baseball skills that they may not have had because not a lot of women grow up playing baseball.
Yeah.
And so it was just the women who had the softball, baseball experience going, kickball could be better if we would teach these women these gentle skills. We had a sliding part of it. We taught bunting, swinging away. In the first couple years, we had to rely on volunteers that were male, and everybody would go, well, why are the men teaching the women if you call it girl on girl? Get into that fight.
Yeah.
But it was really just because we're organized by women. We were sponsoring it by women, and we needed the volunteers to help the bodies because there were so few women. People would have the bare minimum women, and now you can see teams with 4, 5, 6 available.
So many kick, 4,
but you still,
5, sometimes even 6.
Yeah, and you still see some teams doing the 7 and 3 minimum, which is fine. That's part of the game.
Yeah.
But you are seeing a lot of teams adding more women to their roster and putting them in better positions to succeed. That's what that clinic was for.
Yeah. One thing that I've been hearing in the meta, so to speak, is a lot of teams experimenting with kicking girls higher up in the lineup at the 3 spot.
Yeah, I talked about that on my podcast a couple weeks ago with after the clinic, which we now call Kickball for All.
Yeah.
And I went through the lineup from the week before and a couple weeks before and noticed out of 36 teams, 19 teams are kicking women in the 2 or 3 spot.
Yeah.
And there was one team that kicked a woman in the 4 spot, and I didn't see anybody kicking a woman in the 1 spot, but that's okay too. It's not like it never happened. It just hadn't happened those couple of weeks that I just reviewed it.
Yeah.
And when I asked the panel on the podcast that day, I was like, how many women do you think kick in the 1, 2, 3, or 4 spot? And they were all like, I don't know, 8 was, I think, the high guess.
Yeah.
And when I said 19, they were all floored.
Really?
But I was surprised too when I started counting. It was like, it's good to see
I
them
think
moving
it's
up the
also,
lineup.
I think people hearing that too is also convincing them to give it a try.
Yeah.
Recognizing that it is a viable strategy and it works out. And you see teams, I was talking to Jeff Bovey the other day about him experimenting with it this season and finding great results.
Yeah. Because a lot of people used to kick 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, all their men, 7, 8, 9 for their women, and then the 10 spot, they'd put a man again for the wraparound.
I see.
And you would they would expect
that
those
was just
3 spots to
expected.
be
That
outs.
was standard.
Right. They're like, well, here's where our 3 outs are going to come. And then, but that was early on. And the wording from minimum to maximum still messes with me. The original wording was 3 minimum of each gender, which gives you 3 men and 3 women. That's your minimum. And then you have 4 everything else.
Yeah.
And they changed it to 7 maximum at some point after I left the board. 7 maximum men or 7 maximum women to include non-binary in the 3 other.
I see.
I don't like the wording of that because then you're saying you aren't forcing teams to play with the minimum gender of women or men. And the 3 and 3 minimum, when you have the 4 other, that's where everyone goes. You're still keeping it co-ed.
It makes sense to me as an inclusive term.
Yeah. With the co-ed, 3 and 3, and then plus 4.
Right. Plus 4 or whatever.
Yeah. And I still, in my brain, I still think of it that way. And I know that's not how it's worded, but that's just easier for me to process.
Yeah. I think that makes intuitive sense. Well,
Yeah.
So with the board, how did you sort of start getting involved?
So I had Mondays off work, like I mentioned.
Yeah.
I played kickball on Sunday, and I lived really close to Hobbs Park. And I would just go to the park every Monday and clean the park. It was left a mess. There was a lot of cigarette smoking back then. It's a lot less cigarette smoking now.
So you're
but
just picking up butts.
sweeping up the cigarette butts, picking up the glass, picking up the cans, picking up the trash from food. We didn't have food vendors, but people would stop on the way and bring stuff. And it's always been BYOB. And people just walk out because there weren't trash cans in the stands. They didn't know what to do with it. Some people would carry out trash and put it in the trash cans down by the trees, would just be full. So I'd go by on Monday and just do the cleaning myself.
Yeah.
I had nothing else to
Took
do.
it upon yourself.
Yeah. And a couple times somebody would drive by and see me and they'd get out and help. And then one year a guy who lived right across the street was board member, Darren Belt.
Yeah.
He had seen me doing it a handful of times and he was like, how would you like to do this? How would you like to do that? And got me more involved.
Started asking you,
Would you want to do this? Would you want to do that? And I was like, yeah, sure. And then the next year he was like, I want you to be on the board.
Huh.
I was like, great.
Yeah. So Darren kind of selected you, identified you as someone who was already contributing a lot.
He saw a doer and put her to work.
Yeah. So tell me about the roles you've had on the board over the years then.
The first year I was very inverted
feeling it out.
what I needed to do.
Yeah.
The voices on the board when I first joined were very strong and not in an aggressive way, but they'd been doing it for a handful of years.
They knew what they were doing.
Yeah.
We're in the driver's seat. This thing's humming.
Yeah.
Let's keep it going.
So it was Nick Lerner, Darren Belt, Phil Mitchell, Josh Hunt, and then I joined the board with Diana Garcia and Jeff Wright, who's also another great KVKL historian. He's not playing anymore, but the both of them would definitely be able to help you because Jeff Wright played the first year.
Oh, okay.
Anyways.
Yeah. Hunt him down.
Yeah. So yeah, the three of them, all three of us were new. We were all trying to be like, well, what can we do?
Yeah.
Without stepping on toes
Right.
or not trying to take over. And so my first year on the board, I was kind of meek in jumping into a lot of things. I was the ball girl. I sold the kickballs that year.
Yeah.
I helped with cleanup, obviously. One of the things a lot of people who are newer, you may not know about shed duties.
No, don't know about shed duties.
Okay.
Tell me about shed duties.
So the KVKL shed where we store all the equipment is currently at Art Emergency, and we rent a little box of a space there.
I got you.
It used to be on 10th and Delaware in a garage
Okay.
with no lights. And it was just a person who lived in the house was like, yeah, you can use
Go
that
ahead,
garage space
yeah.
for this. And so because the games were at, we had games at Water Tower Park, and we also had games at South Park, and then we had games in North Lawrence. We had games at the 4-H Fairgrounds when they used to have baseball fields. And we're all over the place.
Yeah.
The board members can't drive all over to
Right.
pass that stuff out. So the team captains were responsible
Gotta
with
meet at the
coming to the
shed.
shed,
Well, yeah.
pick up your equipment, drive it to your place, and then return it to the shed.
Oh, I bet that was...
Waiting at that dark shed at night at like 9 o'clock at night with the mosquitoes buzzing around for just a car to drive up and drop off the bases, the heavy ass bases from the grass fields, because we had those big heavy 10-pound home plates or first bases. Just sitting there until like 10 o'clock, like, well, game of the week's probably over now. No,
Right.
finally the last person's here. So, yeah.
I've heard the board talk about, hey, we'd really like you to help us out with
Being on time.
doing what we ask of you so we can do our own board duties. I
Yeah.
imagine back then it was just the Wild West.
Literally. Well, it was literally just waiting on people all the time and being like, look, our time is also valuable. I have to get to my game or leave my
Right.
game early or whatever. So
Yeah.
people who do not value other people's times, that's a big pet peeve of mine.
Yeah.
Anyways,
No, yeah.
but yeah, so early history on the board was gentle volunteer work. And then I took on a lot more roles after that. I helped with obviously registration. It was really easy for me because I was stationed downtown. I worked downtown. People could come to me as a easy place to drop off or pick up anything.
Yeah.
And I just picked up, I think I've done almost every task
Yeah,
that a board
just
member could do.
Picked up more and more. And you even eventually picked up the commissionership.
Yeah.
Tell me about that.
I did that twice.
Yeah.
The first year that I was commissioner, I ruled with an iron fist and took no
Yeah.
prisoners. No, I mean, being the commissioner, the only real difference is that if there's bad news to pass down to a team, it's your responsibility.
Yeah.
Everybody still votes on it. We still get together and have a vote on, well, this happened at this game. How do we punish them? Do we suspend them for a week? Do we kick them out of the league completely? What did this happen? This team didn't follow this rule. Is a forfeit. You have to be the bearer of bad news.
I got you.
But that's basically the hardest part about being a commissioner.
Are there any particular messages that you had to send or things that you had to communicate? Like, what were some of those hot topics at the time that you were sort of addressing as a part of the board?
I think the year that we had to ban a player for a full year was a hard one.
Yeah.
Anytime we had to tell someone that their tournament was over because of a lineup forfeit after a win was very hard. Telling a team that they couldn't have a spare player at the last minute because of a pregnant woman was a hard one. Being like, you're punished because you're pregnant.
Yeah, that is hard.
Yeah, but it was more about you knew you were pregnant before the season even started, and you chose to not tell your team, which is your choice to do. But then when you did finally tell your team, you asked them to
keep playing you.
Try to either keep playing you or beg the board to allow a new person to come in when they didn't have eligibility.
I see.
We'd be like, we can't give them eligibility, but we don't want to ask your pregnant woman to play. And if she doesn't play, you don't have enough people, and that's a forfeit.
Oh, man, that's a mess.
That's a hard one.
That's messy.
That was
a hard one.
Yeah, she played. She killed it. Their team won the championship. So I don't think they're super upset about it.
Yeah.
With another... again, lineups in the tournament don't always get caught during the tournament. You catch them the week after, right before
the next
game. Like it's Wednesday and you're like, crap.
Yeah.
This team's looking forward to playing. How do you
communicate that?
Yeah. So those are probably the hardest messages, I think, is when it comes to tournament, because that's people, you got 10 weeks to play. Everybody plays the same 10 weeks.
Yeah, put it all on the line all season.
But the tournament's what matters to some teams.
More than anything.
More than anything, yeah.
What were some of those? So, like right now, I feel like there's conversations. So this year, player movement was a big change.
Yeah.
That I think that the board decided to finally sort of try to pull the trigger on, or try to free up movement a little bit more. What were some of the big topics when you were on the board? Changes that people wanted to see in the rule set, or alterations to various other pieces?
Safety rules when I was on the board were some of the most important, because we had some very significant injuries over the years. Not always none of the injuries that I've seen have ever been by malice.
Or intentional.
Yeah, one of the first years we played at Hobbs, a woman tripped running to first base and broke her ocular socket and had to have all kinds of reconstruction.
Yeah.
Another player collided with an outfielder and broke his ocular socket not too terribly long ago.
Yeah.
Base blocking, safety rules there tend to be the ones that I focused on a lot when I was on the board.
Yeah.
And then rule understanding. I can...
So is this
almost
when
always,
the ref clinic starts getting...
The ref clinic started, and the rule... there used to be a ref test that you had to pass to ref.
I'm not sure why you don't have to pass it now. I don't know how the board
It's because it's hard to write a ref test.
Yeah.
The ref test is not easy to write because it's open book, obviously.
Right.
And some of the questions, it has to be multiple choice because it's an online option. But when you're writing, like, what is the defensive diamond?
Right.
And then you have to identify that. That's easier than here's a scenario where runner A versus player B versus this. And then you have to write out a scenario and make it make sense with words without a visual. And so those are the ones that need...
Take something that is happening very visually and explain it in a
treat it like
written
Shakespeare.
way.
You have to read it out loud for it to make sense to some people.
Right.
And so writing a ref test is extremely difficult. And when we did that the first year, it was very like, here's the rule book. Let's grab rules that people misinterpret all the time and put them in the rule book. And then a couple years later... the ref test got edited and added some of those situational, and people would miss them, and people didn't attend the ref clinic or do the ref test for a long time, so we made it mandatory. And for a handful of years, it worked very well. I don't know why they stopped making it mandatory for the ref clinic for captains, or at least representatives from teams to attend. I know that I prefer to have refs who pay attention. I prefer refs who know the rules.
Right.
If I'm near the field and you have a question about where something is in the rules, I can find it on my phone in seconds, faster than almost anybody. But I've been reading these rules since they got written, and I wrote some of them.
Yeah.
So people who just kind of lean on the fence and guess whatever the rule may or may not be and don't interpret it the right way, big irks. But you can't make everybody in a volunteer league
Right.
do everything the way you want them to do it.
And it's also a question of how much more additional oversight work do you want the board to do?
Right.
You know?
We ask that the teams provide a competent ref.
Right.
Doesn't have to be from your team.
There are times that a team might receive an IFU for not providing one.
Right.
So.
But a competent ref doesn't have to be on your team. There have been times where a whole team was like, we're going to play it. We're not going to be there at 5:00 to ref because we're all going to be at a wedding, but we'll be there at 7. Will you ref for me?
Right. Asking
Absolutely.
a player on another
100%.
team. Right.
Just the other week, I refed in place of Red Lion, and my husband refed in place of an R-Bar, and we refed the game of the week. They asked us ahead of time. We're competent refs. No problem.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I want to kind of take a sec to ask just about the changes that have happened over the years. Mm-hmm. And maybe the board, how they've operated. Has there been, do you think, a shift overall, like toward player safety, or do you think that's always been there?
It's always been there, but when we wrote up the code of conduct, I think is when we really put it into play. And getting that 501c3 is super important because now we can get KVKL Kickball League insurance and more protection for the board because should anything ever happen, it is ultimately the board who would take the fall.
Right.
So the shift to safety happened a long time ago. I think the shift to competitiveness happened more. The new scheduling definitely shifts the competitive option.
Yeah.
The bell curve between the worst teams and the best teams is still there. It's always going to be there, but it changes every year, and the relegation changes the competitiveness, I think.
Yeah. You just mentioned the change in format. Can you take me through that? You mentioned the pool play earlier.
Yeah.
When did that switch to our current system happen?
So we used to have 6 divisions.
Right.
And then you would play 5 teams when it was 30 teams. You would play 5 teams in your division, and then you would play your rank play. And then we had 32, and it went to 7 and 10, or 7 and 3 for the 10 games. And then when we got 36 teams, we went back to 5 and 5 for pool play, rank play.
6 of 6.
And then 5 games per half of the season. And then the relegation started, I believe, 2021.
Okay.
I'd have to double check that. I was no longer on the board.
Yeah.
Ethan Fincham was the
architect.
He definitely, I'm pretty sure Scott Stewart and him, I think, wrote up the schematic for that. Scott Stewart was a board member who was also the one who designed the game of the week format, like picking bracket at some point, I think. And Ethan might have tweaked it.
Also a former commissioner,
yep,
right?
Both of them, yep. I think literally everybody has been a former commissioner.
Yeah, right.
I think most commissioners have been a former commissioner except for the current board.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I did notice in that spreadsheet you sent along, and you just alluded to it too, how the board has sort of changed. You've kind of seen this old guard kind of slowly start to step back, let some new people take the reins. What excites you about that kind of new crop?
Well, I did it for 10 years and went through a lot of people in that time. And the year I left the board was right before COVID happened. So I have a lot of survivor's guilt that I left the board and then they didn't play that following year. And the new people on the board that year, I think, had to come up with a lot of fresh ideas. And that year, thankfully, we were still able to contribute to charity in a lot of worthwhile ways, cleaning the parks and doing random little social distancing events. We had a online trivia, KVKL trivia night. We did a scavenger hunt that was social distancing and all these fun, great ideas. And then the board now, there's a couple new people, and they've expanded from 7 to 9. And there's a couple new people on the board that are actually old guard people.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and then the other people on the board, there's no one on the board who's not been playing for at least 10 years, I don't think.
Yeah.
So getting a new guard in there would actually be really exciting.
Yeah.
But I don't believe we have that. So the way you said that, I'm like, Liz Carr is probably the only person on the board with the least amount of...
Yeah, like Clint and Katie, they're all people who have been around for years and years and years.
Katie joined, I think, in 2016 or 2017, the league. Maybe earlier. I can't.
We've got
14
Derek
maybe.
And Sean right now. Who else?
Mm-hmm. Sean would have joined around the same time as Katie, between 2015 and 2017 is my guess.
Yeah.
Clint, I want to say 2012. Cal, maybe more modern. I think Sean Donnelly has been in and out.
Mm-hmm.
Avery's been around forever in the league. And Derek joined in 08.
Yeah.
I can pinpoint his because the team he played on only played 1 year. So it's very easy to be like, that's the year you joined, because it's the only year that team was there.
Right there.
Yeah. So not necessarily new to the board, but everybody on the board except for Liz Carr has been a team captain.
Yeah.
And captainship definitely gives you a lot of, like, you understand how to herd those cats a little bit. And then herding the league, I think being a board member is way easier than being a team captain when it comes to herding the crowd.
Yeah.
That's just my opinion.
Yeah.
So I would love to see new people show interest in being on the board, but I think a lot of people are afraid when the old board is going to get fatigued. People are going to drop out because people don't understand the amount of work that goes into it on a day-to-day.
Right.
Some board members put in a lot of work, and some people put in what they can based on time, because we all have real lives.
Right.
So.
Yeah. And I mean, we do all of this. This is so much of, for a lot of us, kickball is so much of the scaffolding around our normal lives.
Yeah.
We are lawyers or bankers or servers or bartenders or
service industry, everything. Yeah.
Right. Exactly. And kickball is this fun thing we do on Sundays that we all care a lot about.
Oh yeah.
But we all do also, have real lives too, where we got to make money. So.
Yeah. Got money to play.
Yeah, got to make money to play. So, you want to do show and tell?
Sure.
Okay. I asked Erin to bring some things along with her today, just some fun memorabilia from over the years. I thought we'd just take a sec to spotlight that stuff. So, whatever you want to kind of get started with, go ahead and kind of take me through.
The first couple things I brought are koozies, because I'm a koozie queen. I have a koozie collection.
And you mentioned how important koozies were early on, too.
Yes, very early on. So the very first KVKL koozie I got was probably 2005. And it's got the KVKL logo.
Oh, with a
little
can.
crushed can on it. It's too far away to see. And then after that, we got some other fun koozies. Some of our favorites through the years was Screamers. I want to say this was 2008 to 2010.
Okay.
One side just says Screamers over and over again, and the other side has a definition of kickball.
Kickball is a game of violence, exclusion, and degradation.
Right.
Very nice.
And
Thank you, Screamers.
Late Fees has been around since nearly the beginning, and they always have really fun koozies that kind of have movie themes.
Oh, nice. Very
That's kind of, Shock Night.
Yeah.
What is it? Crypt Keeper kind of look.
Yeah, kind of Dawn of the Living Dead-y.
Yeah. And then one of the first teams to have a, when they put their hands in and say something for their 1, 2, 3, go, was Sacred Sword, and they put that on their koozie. Crush, kill, destroy.
Yeah, I love that.
So that's a good one.
And what a classy logo, too.
Right. That's when, so Sacred Sword was actually a business downtown that was kind of like a...
Really? Is that where the name comes from?
Yeah, it was a, I can't even think of Sacred Sword, some weaponry, but it made me think of like Renaissance Festival stuff.
Yeah.
So that's where they got the name.
Huh.
I want to say it was 2011 or 2012 when we did a fun event, because there were so many smokers in the league that we wanted to find a way to put ashtrays
Yeah.
at Hobbs Park. And Mick Cotton, who was a board member at the time, cut a handful of kickballs in half and filled them with sand and just put them at
Yeah.
Hobbs at like every 10 feet, and people use those as ashtrays. And we were like, what other fun things we can do with old kickballs that have been popped? So we had a competition that year that was called Reuse Your Rubbers, and we had a lot of really fun entries. I made a belt out of a kickball.
It's incredible.
You can see the 8.5 there, and I had a special
Belt
belt buckle made. And I can use this belt buckle on actual regular belts because I designed the belt to be reusable. If it breaks, I can make a new one. So that was a really fun one.
Honestly, incredible.
Somebody
Honestly,
else,
incredible.
somebody else made a coin purse out of a reused kickball. One
That's
person
good.
made a cushion to sit on.
Oh my God. Yeah, the kickball cushion sitting nicely on my made bed. I'm
Yes.
sure that wouldn't raise any questions.
Yeah. 2014, Happy Shirt made cushions to pass out for everybody at Game of the Week. Had their team numbers and names on it, but it's a cushion to sit on because the concrete is deteriorating and your butt hurts at the end of the day.
Might just be one of the best Game of the Week handouts ever.
Definitely a great handout.
It's
It's
great.
the only time
It's
anybody's ever done that. Other Reuse Your Rubbers, somebody made a miniature hacky sack out of a kickball.
Oh, that's good.
Someone else said a coin purse. Someone tried to make a baseball cap. It was okay. Someone tried to make a thong.
Yeah, okay.
So some of them were kind of funny.
Guy or gal?
It was a guy who made it.
Yeah, I figured.
Yeah. So this is 2006, and a lot of teams had
Ooh, can I hold this up?
trading cards that year.
Wow.
I know Sacred Sword had trading cards. I know Milton's had trading cards.
Ooh, and you've got the champions for Milton's down
2006,
here in the corner.
yep.
06 Milton's right here.
And the gentleman who made these sent the PDF, and KVKL, or maybe Jackie Becker or Josh Hunt.
This one's Erin.
That's me, 2006. Someone has the PDF of all the teams who got their trading cards that year. There's nothing on the back.
Yeah.
It's just a picture of them,
But
an
this
action
is so
shot.
awesome.
And then I found
I would
my
love
05
if we did
team
something
picture.
like this again. Oh man, 05?
Yeah.
Oh my God. Okay, point people out for me.
The
There's you.
only person still playing that's in that picture besides me would be Chris Neverby.
Okay,
And
right there.
I had to I had to do a double take because I was like, wait, he's not in the picture. He is totally in the picture.
Wow.
Nobody else on that team is still playing. That's 05.
Right here. 05, Red Lion.
So I brought the 2023 Girl on Girl Clinic shirt.
So that's the original?
This is the original T-shirt. And because 2012 we didn't do a shirt because it was the first time we did it, but 2013 we did a shirt. And we've done a shirt every year since then, even when we changed it to Kickballs for Us to Kickballs for All.
And those things go fast.
They do.
too. The Kickball for All shirts, they always go fast every year.
Yeah, we try to pre-order them, but here is the.
This your first jersey?
This is my third jersey.
Third jersey. Okay.
This is the 06 jersey.
Yeah, it's classy. Good look. Numbers or
Yeah, everybody was number 40
everybody's number 40?
because we were the Red Lion King Cobras, which was
right,
a 40.
which is a 40.
Yeah.
I got it.
Then the jersey the next year's 07
That's nice.
went a lot more classy. Luckily, they're numbered, officially licensed.
Yeah, that's nice.
And
Officially licensed.
There's the 40.
The 40 on the sleeve. Yeah.
When we were raising money to get that scoreboard put up at Hobbs Park, we sold this shirt that says I scored at Hobbs.
Yeah.
And we sold these in gray, mustard yellow, and kind of a bear brown. I can't remember why we picked those colors.
Do you remember how many shirts you ordered for sort of the initial run?
No, I think Jackie Becker did the original red. This is a Drew James original drawing. He's done a huge amount of drawings for KVKL. He's even done Snapchat filters for us for championship week sometimes.
That's awesome.
What else do I have? There's KVKL sunglasses. There's KVKL hats.
Yeah, let's show it all.
KVKL hat.
A bunch of merch
I
that
don't know.
the league doesn't sell anymore. You guys.
Sunglasses were kind of boring.
You
There's just a little
guys.
logo on the arm right there, really small. There were sweatshirts and zip-up hoodies, and there were coffee mugs and pint glasses, and you'll still see some
We've
of
made
them
all
in
sorts
people's
of stuff
literally
over the
everything you can
years.
think of. My team makes socks that have the KVKL logo.
Yeah, that's
and
great.
the calf says jerks.
Yeah, that's
So,
great.
Yeah, I think anything you can. Dick towels has been a very popular one as well.
Yeah, dick towels, great.
Obviously, koozies and shirts are the ones my husband and I tend to collect. But
Yeah.
apparently, I collect everything if it involves KVKL.
Well, hey, I love it, and it's great for today too.
Good.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
For bringing this stuff.
It's a lot.
Thank you for sharing.
It was hard to decide
as
which
well.
koozies to bring because I have.
Yeah, you had to do a top 4.
I did. I have probably about 800 koozies,
No
and
way.
I would say
800?
300 of them are kickball koozies.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Okay. Wow, that's okay. Also owns. So I'm also making a note. Erin also owns 800 koozies.
If not more.
If not
and
more.
like 100 pairs of sunglasses. Yeah, it's kickball related paraphernalia.
Hey, I'm starting my own collection too.
There you go.
So it's small but mighty. But
Okay.
it'll maybe someday I'll have one like yours.
Are you doing jersey trades?
I'm trying.
Some teams do jersey
trade,
swaps.
Every jersey trade I can. I'm
Okay.
trying to get one. So
Put it out there.
Yeah,
Jersey
guys,
swaps. You have to order
anyone-
extras.
You want a Ringers jersey? Let's trade, baby.
I
right.
trade koozies with people. If they have extras, I will always take koozies. I always make extras.
Yeah, good to know. Noted. Teams, keep making swag, guys.
Yeah, people love the swag, and
People love the swag.
So there's a lot of history here, and I'm not the only one who keeps this stuff for sure.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Alex Hammond was given a kickball shirt quilt by his wife, I think, for
that's so
Christmas
cute.
this last year. So
That's so cute.
she had given away a handful of his shirts for Goodwill just to like clean out or whatever, and then she remembered she wanted to do that, so she reached out to me and was like, "Do you have doubles of any of these?" I was like, "Absolutely."
Oh yeah.
So
yeah.
he's got a couple of my old shirts on his kickball quilt.
Yeah. How sweet. Mm-hmm. So, Erin,
Yes.
I'd like, before we wrap up, just sort of transition into where we are now.
Mm-hmm.
We've spent a lot of time talking about, history of this league. We've had a lot of names thrown out today about important people who have been in one way or another involved. I wanted to ask, sort of give you a chance to sort of highlight folks who you maybe haven't mentioned up to now, who you think are still really important to the history and the story of KVKL.
Okay. Someone who's still playing that I think is someone you would definitely want to talk to is Bronco and Styles
Yeah.
from Chalmers's. I know I brought them up, but they both used to work for Channel 6. And at one point, they tried to start a KVKL documentary.
Really?
I don't know where that ended up. I think you would love to talk to them. They have been playing a long time, historians. I think you should talk to Lou and Alex and Noah from Invictus.
Yeah.
Because they started playing before we had age limits.
Really?
I'm pretty confident they were
Wow.
playing when they were still well before 18.
Yeah.
So their history, their memories of the leagues are probably going to be slightly skewed from being pre-high school.
Yeah.
But I think they'd be fun to talk to just from their perspective. Some of the people who've been in the league forever that I think you would probably want to talk to. Also, Dan from the Woost.
Mm-hmm.
He's been a highlight of so many people's journeys through the league because he's so nice.
Yeah, I love Dan. He's great.
Such an intelligent player as well. He's lights out when he needs to be and so kind and caring. Love him.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of other teams that have been around forever. Seth Sanchez from Free State, obviously.
yeah.
A lot of
Oh, yeah.
people know him. He hasn't been the captain of Free State since the beginning, but he does a lot of social media.
Mm-hmm.
And he helps KVKL with social media a little bit. I think he'd be really fun for you to talk to. Scott Stewart, obviously past board member. He is a web designer.
Yeah.
And he is, I think, still the current host for the website and helps the current board with the website. And so
gotcha.
he may have access to a lot of history that I've forgotten.
Yeah.
He also helped with the spreadsheet. Ethan Fincham helped update the spreadsheet and submitted some of the team history and helped organize the board history on this one.
Yeah.
So this is not a solo effort with the spreadsheet, but I do reference it a lot.
Yeah.
I think Simon Skinner would be an amazing person to talk to
Yeah.
because he's been in the league since year 2 or 3.
Yeah.
He played with Balls Deep and Sacred Sword and Wildman, and I think he has 4 official teams under his belt before he became a captain. So yeah.
Yeah. I've got a list.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm hoping for year one, we get at least 6 people in here, have some good conversations, see where we sort of land after that kind of initial run. Hope to keep doing this for a long time, though.
Yeah.
Are there any people that you haven't mentioned yet that were really important on your journey in KVKL?
Oh, probably. And I feel horrible that I can't. I
Yeah,
can't.
sorry to put you on the spot on that.
My brain is probably like churning. There's so many people that have come and gone. Somebody who was probably doesn't realize how much they meant to me was Erin Swaggerty.
Okay.
He was one of the old captains of the Screamers, and he's one of the people who would drive by and see me cleaning the park and jump out and help.
Yeah.
I think the day that I did the cleanup this year, the picture was of him. He was the one in the picture helping me do cleanup that day. I literally, there's so many people in this world that probably do something in my brain and trigger some kind of happy thought. I don't know where to start.
Okay. Erin, I've got 2 final questions for you.
Oh, dear.
This penultimate question is, what excites you the most about where KVKL is today?
Probably seeing new people join.
Yeah.
For a while there, it didn't feel stagnant in the way that there was still lots of growing to do in KVKL, and there probably always will be. But I felt like I was always seeing the same faces at every event, not just at the games, not just like a team. Like you might have the same 10 people on your team for 10 years. That's fine. But I mean like the auction, the after parties, the charity events, the extracurricular activities that we put together. Avery has taken on my pub crawl that I started a long time ago. Megan Hammond and I do the scavenger hunt. Megan and Hammond and I do a handful of it. We did the cleanup crew during COVID. Everything that happened with the yard game day was my brain.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of things that you can do to help this league. And I see the same faces. And I would love to see the new faces come in. And I am seeing some new faces at some of the extra events, but I would love to see more.
Yeah.
I know that everyone has their own life and there's lots to do every day. But keeping the league fresh in the extracurriculars will help keep the league fresh for the city. All the charity work we do is a good look. And the more new faces we can get into that, the better.
Yeah. Guys, you heard it. If you just can't get enough of KVKL, give back. Give back and give back some more. You never know. One thing I found in life, you get out what you put in. So I think that, countless people in KVKL will tell you exactly that.
Yeah. And I am happy that people are taking on the events that I started, like the pub crawl and Megan Hammond's scavenger hunt we're going to do again this year.
Yeah.
And so little ways to get involved, just helping with cleanup. Obviously, even if it's not your week, if it's your week to do something as a designated, this is my team to do it, jump in.
Jump in.
Volunteer.
Water's fine.
Volunteer to be on the podcast. Volunteer to be on anything that makes you feel like you're more part of the overall collective group, not just your team.
I love that message. Thank you for, I think, highlighting that in this moment, because that is, in a lot of different ways, I want to make this league more accessible for people. I want to bring more folks in. I want more people to find the love for this game that I've found. And I think that you've been a shining example of how to do that over the years, too. So my last question, I just want to real quick peer into the future. What's on the horizon for KVKL?
So I'm no longer on the board, obviously. My husband
Right.
is. And so I get to view that from an outsider's perspective, and I get to see all the little things that aren't my right to talk about. One thing I would love to talk about is the restoration project at Hobbs Park.
Yes.
I get emotional when I talk about things that mean a lot to me, so I'm going to try really hard. The park is in need of work on the concrete. Concrete's not cheap, but we want to get it historically registered. So we are trying to earn money for that. Like the yard sale we did this year, all the proceeds from the yard sale went to that. KVKL's already committed, I think, $3,200 to the $1,500 goal to get on the list to be considered for registration on the National Historic League registration. I think we're out of $15,000. I think the group of us, not just KVKLers, that are trying to put together this money, I think we're at 12 out of 15. We need $2,000 to $5,000 more to get to our goal to even get on the list to be registered. Mm-hmm. Once that happens, once we have that registration and we're on the historic list, we can ask for grants. We can ask for more fundraising options because you can put your name on things. We can do all kinds of fun things. So in the future, look out for concerts at Hobbs Park, maybe a movie at Hobbs Park. We're going to try to do maybe we can find a way to get Sandlot or something played at Hobbs Park, right? Yeah. Look out for celebrity baseball games or kickball games at Hobbs Park. We're going to try to get actual celebrities, not just local celebrities that, we're very cool, but celebrities. So ways to fundraise for that will be coming, and keeping the community involved. It's kind of a big deal. We're 36 teams in one town. Granted, people come in from Kansas City and Topeka, but if you go to any other town with the kickball league, are you finding that many
you're not.
This competitive?
That's
No.
what I'm telling you. Premier kickball league in the United States.
So the history of the league, hopefully we will stay competitive and we will stay at 36 teams. There's no room for expansion. There's physically no room. There are more teams that would love to join. Right. But there's no space.
I mean, we would have to maybe play at Lions.
Maybe once KVKL starts getting those 501c3 $10,000 to $50,000 donations per year, we can buy land and build a KVKL complex.
Oh my God. That would be...
That's always been a back of the head dream.
Back of the head. Maybe someday.
I mean, I've been involved for long enough that we got the scoreboard, we got the bench at Hobbs Park. Our name is on that park twice.
Yeah.
Let's buy some land.
Let's buy some land. Let's do it. Hey, Erin, I just wanted to thank you again for coming out, being my first guest on a Kick Down Memory Lane. And for all of you guys at home, I wanted to thank each and every one of you for coming in, watching us talk. More to come. There's always more kickball content to come. So you guys, good luck this weekend. Good luck on Sunday. And Erin, thank you again. Good luck on Sunday.
Good luck on Sunday. Telling my babies to kick good.
Oh yeah, they've been kicking it. They've been kicking ass.
They do. They always do.
They do.